is your Governors, XL on the blue side and Raise Your Governors on the red. Let's see what gets banned away here.
Yep. I guess with first bans, it's always hard to predict, but they are getting rid of that LeBlanc, which, as you said, Vera had a great performance on, so not wanting to play against that. I can actually, some inside knowledge as a former teammate of Kumel's, he doesn't enjoy playing against LeBlanc at all, so...
No one does. I can tell you as a mid laner, no one likes playing against LeBlanc. Yeah. It's not fun.
Similar, sort of, I mean, Tilly is a general pick, but a very specific pick for Kumel is that he's played Tilly, I believe, in his last 2 games and been dominating on it, so not wanting to play that. And the issue with that is Virao also plays Tilly, so not only are you hitting the enemy's pool, but you're hitting your own pool. I've seen a Warwick ban, which I think was it Speedy who played it?
It's been banned away quite a lot from him. It's almost a target ban versus him.
So understandable, they want to take away this pick, something that he's clearly competent on. And I think that's what XL are looking for. They know that, I guess on paper, their team does sort of outclass Governors, but that doesn't say that Governors are bad as players. Maybe they struggle to get the cohesion going as a team, and so they're putting down target bans and not wanting them to get on these picks that they know they're capable of carrying on, putting them maybe in a bit more uncomfortable positions. And we've
seen... XL banned Warwick away twice in a row now as well. To all of week 5, he banned it. It was banned away, so they wouldn't let anyone get their hands on it. And now they're gonna lock in the Caitlyn as the first pick for XL.
Makes a lot of sense to me. Right now, there are 2 bot lanes that, in my eyes, are really S tier. I mean, Xayah and Caitlyn alone are very strong picks, but Caitlyn Morg and Xayah Khan are both insane bot lanes, and they banned away the Xayah. So no Xayah Khan for the side of Governors, but Caitlyn being this pick already, they have the option to go for that Kate Morg. Looks like Governors are going to deny that and take away the Morg themselves. The issue is, though, with Xayah Khan, denying the Rakan, it denies the lane duo, and although Caitlyn is great with Morgana, she isn't completely dependent on it. I feel like if you pick Xayah, to be fair, Xayah is fine on her own, but Xayah Khan, you get those extra benefits from being a combo, whereas with Caitlyn and Morgana, it's just how the duo works together. And now you're in a position where potentially XL can pick a range support who can bully Morgana, maybe a Janna or something like a Karma. A Karma, I think, would actually be a good pick. We are seeing the Cassiopeia come out for Virao. Very strong scaling champion, but, lots of picks still open for Kumel. Rai still available, Victor still available, Azir still available, so lots of options still to play into this.
Well, it looks like Taxa actually is going to be locking in the Olaf.
Yeah, and this is the issue with picking a Cassiopeia and a Morgana so early. Very CC reliant. You're reliant on landing your ult and your miasma if you want to keep people at bay on Cassiopeia. And obviously Morgana is very much about her CC. Olaf just ignores that when he pops his ult. And with Skarner off the table, he is the only Predator jungler available and very strong in that regard. And we are now seeing the Galio, something Kumel has enjoyed playing a lot. Cassiopeia is a fine pick into that. She provides a lot of damage. You do need something with good sustained DPS into a Galio. But you don't pick Galio to necessarily crush lane. You pick it because you want to make impact on the rest of the map. And that plays into what I said earlier, where Sendu is probably going to look for a good counter pick in the top lane. We see the Varus come out on the other side. Another high tier 80 carry. Some people could argue maybe not as high tier than Xayah and Caitlyn, but that's usually only because they're so good when you have Xayah Khan or when you have Caitlyn Morgana. Varus is a strong pick, and with Morgana can protect him from that CC. The issue is now you need to ban away picks that are going to make that Caitlyn whatever lane overbearing. Potentially Karma could be one of them, or you're going to ban away top laners where you're worried about Sendu having a lot of pressure. Did you actually ban away the Tom Kench? It's an interesting one. It provides safety for the Caitlyn, but to me, I feel like XL are going to look to dominate the bot lane, not necessarily just play it safe, but, it's a solid ban. Interesting to see what they go for next. Zac taken away from XL, obviously a really strong jungler, and then I guess it comes down to whether they're most likely going to look for maybe a Sejuani ban next. It'll
be another support from Governor, Raise Your Governors, definitely. I just kind of want to hit on Cromel playing on this Galio. He's only ever played it twice, but he has a combined score of 9-3-14 on the Galio over 2 games. Yeah, which is really impressive. And both of those games, he literally was looking to roam as much as possible around the map. He's got a good team that's going to facilitate that. Olaf can pop everything and just run into the middle of the team, give him a perfect spot to ult into. So Raise Your Governor need to be very careful about that level 6 combo from XL. And I'm going to be interested to see what actually the support pickup will be from XL. They're going to ban away the Kha'Zix, deny that from Speedy, so he has still got the Sejuani, still got the Jarvan, if you'd like, as well, available to him.
Jarvan decent at Olaf because you can trap him in. Doesn't matter if you're immune to CC if you can't run away. And also has the escape of the EQ in the early game, so you can't get pressured as hard. Interesting to see what he takes. For the side of XL, Nada get banned away, so that obviously reduces the split push pressure that Sendu can provide. They're actually going to take the Shen here, so picking the top lane, won't leave the jungle from later. I mean, XL have options here. They could potentially pick something that's good into the Shen. Picks like Ergot might be possible. And then with bot lane, I feel like, I mean, Janna's an option. I personally would prefer Karma because it synergizes so well with the Olaf. But Janna works plenty well as well. It's up to Jewel what sort of preferences. But that's going to provide a lot of laning power into a Varus Morgana. Morgana, a great pick into melee supports. You know, if you're against a Braum, you can stop a CC coming down. But against a Janna, you don't offer any sort of shielding. And so when your AD carry is trading against a Janna shielded Caitlyn, you're going to struggle. Jewel actually hovering over the Ornn. Interesting pick. I think the issue I see with this is you're going to lack damage with your composition. So, I mean, they are just hovering it now. They could switch it out for someone else. They go with the Cho'Gath. I mean, it has a bit more damage, but still not a ton. To me, this says that XL are looking to dominate early, get a lead in the mid game, and win off that. Because they have 3 huge tanks on their team. And, well, I mean, I guess Galio and Olaf aren't super tanks like Cho'Gath is, but they are very tanky and a great mid game, and they are looking to get a lead when they're very strong and snowball off that. On the other side, we are actually going to see the Kayn come out.
Okay, not going to go for this pony size Hecarim. Maybe not the strongest to pick up, which, by the way, spoiler, Hecarim's not that strong at the moment. Going to lock in the Kayn instead. Obviously, we'll get that Rast form, so we'll be able to deal with this tankier line coming through from XL. They've got 3 tanks. Now, my concern is XL have a great front line and some really solid peel for Venza. But like you said, the concern really comes through is the damage there for them? Do they have actually enough to cut through Jakamaka on the Varus? Jakamaka's always been a very staple AD carry. Even on Raise Your Governors, when they've been losing a lot of games, he has been one of the players who's looked very, very strong for this team. And Varus late game is able to really cut through tanks with all that on-hit build, with the Rage Blade, with the Wit's End build up as well. It's also going to enable Viral, who's also got a fantastic late game. So the late game from Raise Your Governor is looking very, very scary.
Yeah, I think this is a similar comp we saw Misfits play the other day when they were against Enclave. I think XL know what they're playing for, and they're playing for an early game win condition. They don't want to. They don't want the game to get to late. If the game gets to late, they're probably going to lose, but they shouldn't have by then. They're looking to secure an advantage, and they're looking to make use of that and transition it into a win. Whereas on the other side of Governors, they're just looking to scale. The Shen's going to give them some defense against early game plays. The Kayn needs to get his form, the Cassiopeia needs to get items, and Varus wants to get his Ghostblade, and then he'll be able to eventually shred through tanks. I think the thing is, the reason tanks are so good in the mid-game is champions don't pick up their penetration items until later on. I mean, a Caitlyn's going to get her crit items before her last Whisper. A Varus is going to... I mean, to be honest, Varus isn't a pick who normally gets a pen item. Whereas tanks, their damage falls off later in the game. They're very reliant on base damage. And so in the middle of the game, they have a lot of HP. They have a lot of base damage. It's really difficult to deal with. And so that's where XL really want to... when XL really want to make this composition work. So interesting to see if they can pull that off.
Now, if we have a look at the keystones coming through, nothing too unexpected apart from Venza, who's running the Unsealed Spellbook on the Caitlyn. And Kayn is also... Speedy is also running that Dark Harvest.
Yeah, actually, I'm gonna switch over because we've just got in game, and
very strange pickup actually. Once you're ready, let's have a little talk about this Unsealed Spellbook on Venza.
So, lots of craziness here. I think Cleanse on Jewel and Unsealed Spellbook on Venza are both going towards the same thing. Their fear is the CC. And so they are already taking the Cleanse on Jewel, because you don't normally go Unsealed Spellbook on Janet. We just have just gone into a pause, so I'll just switch to the break screen. Actually, I'll keep it on the screen just so we can see the Summoner Spell and Keystone choices. So, Cleanse from Jewel is because there's a lot of pick potential from the side of Governor's bot lane. the ult from Jakamaka and the binding from Snuggly, huge threat. With Venza and Jewel, you just want to shove in and pressure with that, so you don't want to get CC'd. Similarly for Venza, he wants to start the game off with heal, and then later on he plans to switch off, no doubt, to cleanse, so that he can be less threatened against the CC. Probably once Jakamaka's hit that level 6 point and his ult becomes a real threat. I mean, Fleet Footwork did get nerfed slightly, so not a huge issue for Caitlyn. And I think another factor is Caitlyn's going to be shoving in constantly. The sustain isn't what she needs. And although Fleet Footwork is a great late game summoner, keystone, because obviously it gives that extra attack speed and the healing when you have crit, like we said, XL aren't planning to go to late game. They picked this Caitlyn for lane dominance. They want to win lane, avoid getting all in by Jakamaka and Snuggly, and transition the lead from there.
Well, we are through onto the Summoner's Rift, as Racial Governors on the red side will be taking on XL on that blue side, and XL need to start getting some wins under their belt, because there is a chance that they could overtake Misfits and take #1 seed in Group A. This is easily, well, easily is probably the wrong word for this. This is most likely the easier game for XL compared to Sunday when they have to take on Misfits themselves. But let us know in the Twitch chat who you think will win. Will it be XL or will it be Raise Your Governors?
Yeah. I mean, one thing we didn't talk about was a Dark Harvest on Kayn. Something very interesting. I don't think we've seen it normally. Does mean I'll have a lot more power later in the game. The thing with Dark Harvest is once you get a certain amount of stacks, the buff lasts for, I think it's 5. I'll just check the tooltip actually. But, oh, it doesn't show up. Okay. I do believe it is 5 minutes though.
I believe you're right on that. I'll take your word on that.
So, yeah, so it's very short early in the game, harder to make use of. But later in the game, you get this very extended buff that you can make use of for extra damage. So scales well. I mean, that just plays into what Governors want to do scale, but the issue I see is that you already have a good scaling comp. It does take away from the early pressure a bit by going this more late game oriented keystone.
I do feel that Racial Governors are trying to play for the late game with the comp they've put together. And it is a scary late game. A lot of damage available to put out and lots of ways to keep Jakamaka alive. The Stan United, the Black Shield. Lots of options available to them. As for now, early will the XLs to run around and do as much as they like with. I'm going to be keeping my eyes on these junglers because they have the ability to really upset these early games. Both of them have exceptionally strong early games, especially the Kayn with his ability to walk through walls and just appear from very strange positions.
I think the gank path is great for Kayn, but I think the gank pressure from Taxa is so much stronger on this Olaf because, yes, you can get into great places with Kayn, but you don't have that much CC apart from the slow on your W. Once Taxa lands an axe, so much follow-up. It's like you land one axe and it's so hard to get away. So I think really I'm looking for him to find an opportunity, and you can see he's actually coming in mid here.
The Speedy's also coming in through too. Rao loses about half his health, and neither jungler decides to pull the trigger on that gank.
Yeah.
Let's have a little look at the Drake spawning. First Drake will be the Infernal Drake. So whoever can get their hands on that will get themselves a nice little advantage to get themselves rolling early on, as Speedy is hanging around on the red side jungle of XL. Maybe to make something happen as Venza leaves a lot of health to Jakamaka.
I think this is just a common play from junglers. They tend to trade the golems. You don't normally do the golems on your side of the map. You go aggressive, you look to get these golems, sneak in, sneak out, and both of them you can see on opposite side of the maps will do this. But I think Olaf might look for a dive here because Governor is very low.
Governor is low. Remember, he does have the taunts available and the ability to block auto attack. So diving a Shen is always quite hard unless you land that silence from Sendo on the Cho'Gath. But they decide to call that off for now, and it looks like Taxa, will be making his way towards his chickens. So I'm just having a teleport come through from Governor on the Shen, just going to return back into lane. Is level 6, so Stan United's not quite available.
Yeah, so
we'll have a quick check of his experience. Okay, so he should get that in the next couple of minutes. He's level 6, and at which point that teleport being down will be relatively irrelevant.
It is a benefit to playing Shen. It's not a huge issue to have to burn your TP early, but it shows the sort of play Sendu's going for. And he's managed to force Governor to burn his TP already and has over a 10 CS lead at this point in the game. So I mean, we say about these tank versus tank matchups, there isn't that much window to sort of outplay. Sendu's managing to do it, and I think it just shows the sort of caliber of player he is.
Very different matchup from what we saw earlier with Kerberos and Rift. The exact same matchup as this last time. It was Rift on the Shen who had the big advantage, and Kerberos struggled on the Cho'Gath. Did also get quite a lot of pressure applied to him in lane, although early game was quite quiet, just like this game, as with 5 minutes on the board, and it's a slight gold advantage in favor of EXL for now, but Venza playing with fire in that lane.
Yeah, I think Venza should actually look for a recall here and just TP back to lane. He has the spell loop, can switch it out, and it just keeps up the pressure, but he has fallen 10 CS behind, and if you pick Caitlyn, you don't really want to fall behind in lane.
Definitely, he has switched to the teleport. Ooh, he could have hung around for about 60 more gold and got a BF still, but decides to get a pickaxe and a dagger. Snugly lands himself a nice dark binding onto Duel, which means he will run pretty low for now.
Yeah, and Jackamak and Snugly doing great here just to pressure this lane. I mean, I think one of the things with Janet is she is great for sort of providing the shielding for the AD carry. But I think Snugly and Jackamak have been playing the lane well, in which that you're fighting 2v1 against them. And the E from Jackamak are really helping set up trades. I mean, that's why personally I feel like Karma might have been better to just help the trading power. But, you know, Venza has the TP, so he's not going to lose out too massively here. And is able to get some damage on this tower already, to be honest.
Well, Jackamaka has picked himself up a recurve bow. This is one of the bonuses of the fact that it's not a crit build on the Varus, meaning that pickaxe first buy actually isn't the end of the world for him. Purely because of the fact he's not going to be fighting into a BS sword, he's actually just going to be fighting into the recurve bow and an extra dagger on Jackamaka. Venza does need to be a little careful because it's going to lose a lot of health to Jackamaka for now. And Taxa invading into Speedy's jungle, looking to take away this blue buff, but Drow is coming through. Kremel's with him as well. Snugly manages to land the binding as they're throwing out the damage now. Ultimate gets thrown down by the Olaf for the moment, but Kremel is super low, and it's going to be first blood picked up by Snugly.
And this is the issue, going aggressive against the Shen. Shen ult came in, CC came down on a Kremel, and they end up not only losing out on the blue, but losing out on the fight. So, great plays from Ranger Governors to come out ahead there.
Able to dodge away from that dark binding. Looks for a lot of damage onto Jackamaka. Doesn't land the Piltover Peacemaker though. Both of the ADCs will be running a little bit low. Remember, there's no fleet footwork on Venza. He doesn't have too much life steal.
Something to note,
but Jackamaka does.
Something to note is that Jewel has gone for the E max first on Janna, and so this is something that you see sometimes. It's actually a W max, and it gives more pressure and poke power in lane, especially with Airy. So interesting to see that he's decided to go for more shield. A bit more defensive for Venza, but I mean that's why I'm running. Is maybe if he opted for the W, he'd be able to pressure this lane a bit more, put more threat onto the other two. Because right now he's essentially just a shield bot. But we are seeing Taxa going to try and sneak in here.
Taxa hasn't been spotted quite yet as Duel's maybe looking for the slow. Does actually connect it, and Taxa's coming through as well. Doesn't have Ragnarok, and his mana is a little bit low, so Taxa's going to be forced to run away. Yeah,
I feel like that was just trying to see if you'd get away with it. Maybe trying to see if Jackamaka and Snugly went aggressive. They didn't, and things went fine. And looks like, I mean, they must be aware of Speedy's position on the map, and the vision control is good for them. So Taxa's going to start up this Infernal Drake already. In return,
Speedy's free at this point, as Speedy will be able to take the blue buff as a consolation prize for this.
I don't think that's a great trade, especially when Galio doesn't need that much mana to shove a wave out.
He's already got himself the Catalyst as well, so he has a little bit extra mana to boot. Infernal Drake gets picked up at 9 minutes by EXL, and Speedy only able to get himself a blue buff in return. At the meantime, Sendo is pinging out that he's looking for Speedy, and he just feasts him down. Director Cam didn't like us there, but
yeah, I think he flashed. Speedy was low. There was a ward that saw him there. He flashed over, popped the silence, so Speedy couldn't do anything, and then just ate him. And this is great play from Sendu. And this is what I said. I mean, he picked a tank and not a sort of bruiser carry split push champion, but he's massively ahead in CS, and he just killed the enemy jungler. And even better, picked up a blue buff. So great play from Sendu so far here.
Sendu definitely going to have himself a nice advantage if you already look at his turret as well. Governor struggling to match the shove that Sendu's able to do. And you were talking about this in the last game, how naturally the Cho'Gath early with the Vorpal Spikes is able to just push these waves in constantly. As we're seeing a Chains of Corruption come through from Yakamaka onto Duel, who's forced to cleanse, but it's a little bit too late, really, as mana's running a little bit low, and now Venza trying to land the Pilt over Peacemaker and the ace in the hole. Yakamaka survives with very little health. He's going to be able to walk away, though.
So close. You can see what Venza's done, though. He has switched to the cleanse, and this is the plan for this bot lane. This is their strategy. They don't want to get engaged on at all. I mean, Duel used his cleanse very late then. I guess maybe he thought he could get away with it because Snuggly wasn't there. But the whole point is they both have cleanse. Cleanse is quite a short cooldown. Summoner a lot shorter than Flash. And they don't want to get engaged on by this heavy CC bot lane.
Camille taking a trade with Rao does actually come out with the better end of it. And now Snuggly trying to hold out with the Tormented Soil, but just can't clear these waves out. And the turret health bars all the side of Raise Your Governors are starting to run a little bit low as the constant push and shove from XL is starting to pay off in their favor. Gold lead is only 600 at the moment, but that is all but available to grow once these turrets start to go down. Mid turret is the only one that seems relatively untouched so far.
Yeah, that top tower is so low. Like, Sendu just needs an auto to get that. Really dangerous situation, and Tax are going aggressive here, and you can see the Galio actually walking down. Governors are aware of this, so they see this play going, but Black Shield's been used, and I'm not sure if they'll be able to react.
That's a big bait coming through. Ragnarok's available to Taxa if he wants to go for it. Kamel has been spotted out, though, by Virao, and turret in the top side will fall to Sendu on the Cho'Gath. Fantastic play from XL just to assert as much pressure as possible on the map.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can see the vision control from XL on the bot side. Just flawless, and it facilitates this from happening. There was a good defensive ward, though, from Governors, which enabled to see that play. But it doesn't even matter. They don't need it. They've managed to get the side turrets. Ace in the hole will get blocked by Yakamaka. They managed to get the side turrets without even taking any kills, really. Just from the sheer pressure. And this is why you take these champions. You have a pushing top lane. You have a pushing bot lane. And then mid, I mean, Galio is able to push as well. And this is the issue, is that when you're against 3 shoving lanes, you're going to struggle to do anything early.
As the FOS picked up on Duel. It'll be interesting to see actually if this is like an Ardent Rush Janna. It's been a while since I've seen that.
Yeah, I think it works well for the early spike on Venza. But I mean, it's still not the greatest pickup early.
Well, Venza's actually switched out for the cleanse now on the Caitlyn, so wanting to obviously deny a lot of that chain CC, but Raise Your Governors will be able to throw down on him. And Rift Herald will get started up by XL. Going to be able to get their hands on that as well, so growing the kind of lead even further. They should be able to crack yet another turret with that, and guess what the next Draco is? It is going to be an Infernal, so this could be a potential second for XL. Let's Raise Your Governor can start to get more vision control down there, but if you do look at the warding right now, it's just dominance from XL.
Yeah, really solid vision control, and this is exactly what you want. And the thing is, second Infernal is great for an early game composition like XL's. They're gonna have such an advantage prioritizing this because they're now 2,500 gold ahead because of these 2 early towers they took, and because they constantly have shoving lanes, it's so easy to maintain vision control. Oh, did you see that crit there? It was like 1,200. I mean, yes,
a minion crit. It is
a minion crit still, but I mean, that's the thing with the Caitlyn with Infinity Edge. She doesn't have any other crit modifiers, but if you do get a crit, huge damage.
Check the corruption goes down. Cleanse will get burned now as Venza gets monsooned up and healed up. Ultimate gets thrown down from Yakamaka, does force out the cleanse and Duel's ultimate, though.
And this is a difficult one. I mean, you have to ask yourself, was that a conscious decision by Governors? They want to burn the cleanse before the next team fight for Infernal? Or was it a bit of a mistake where they didn't see the cleanse coming? Because now they're not going to have the Varasol for whenever this Infernal Drake's being contested. And you can see, look how confident Taxa and Jewel are here, pushing so deep in the jungle.
Well, we also got to keep in mind, if that play does happen, they throw down all the CC once again. What they do have to be careful of is the hero's entrance from Kremel. He's able to add some additional stats to Venza, keep him alive and enter him with the ultimate. So yes, they burnt the cleanse, but Kremel charging up, maybe looking for the flash, not going to do so. And now tier 1 in the mid is under fire. This will fully open up the map for XL if they do manage to get their hands on it.
Lockup comes in.
Multiple members and Kremel getting engaged on by Vro, but not really going to be able to change out too much damage, and that turret is very, very low.
This is great for XL. They burn out the Shen ult, and this is the power of having these side lanes that shove in. The top laner, Sendo, shoves in, the mid laner, Krumel, shoves in, and they move towards to pressure that tower. They get a lot of damage on the tower, they don't get it sheer, but they burn not only Speedy's flash, but their ult from Shen, which is huge if they want to prioritize this Infernal Drake that's now spawned.
15 minutes on the clock. It's a 3,000 gold lead to XL. Raise Your Governors standing on that pink ward, making sure they're not spotted out. Jakamaka needs to try and find that prime ultimate onto the perfect target. Remember, Duel's cleanse is down, but Taxa soloing Speedy out on the back end of the fight.
And that's the power of this extra AD coming from Duel. Just giving so much damage to Tax in the early game, and he just chunks out Speedy. Yes, Speedy gets away, but he's so low he has to recall. And that's going to be in a second Infernal Drake for XL, coming in uncontested, which is exactly what you want with an early game composition. And they pick up the mid tower as well.
This is really, really big for XL. Backs are going to start to come through from Venza at some point. Jakamaka has finally finished up his first item and got that Rage Blade finished. But look at Governor. No complete items on the Shen at the moment. Only sitting on the Burmese Cinder and Null Magic Mantle for the moment. And there's a Zeal and a Dagger picked up by Venza on this base, and it's looking dire for Raise Your Governor.
Yeah, and it's not going to get better. The next dragon is another Infernal, and if you're an XL fan, I mean, you're hoping for this, because they are so far ahead at this point in the game. We've said Governors have a scaling composition. Any neutral objectives that they feel obligated to contest are bad. They felt like they had to contest that second Infernal Drake. They were behind. They struggled to. They had to give it up. Now there's another Infernal Drake, and if they give up 3 Infernals, it's going to be very difficult in this mid-game. I mean, yes, they still have the scaling advantage when it hits late game, but it's going to take so much longer to get there when the other team has 3 Infernals. And Rift Herald will be popped. I think that was just coming to the end of the cooldown, so we have to use it. That will go towards the top side.
They were just burning that. Now, Orcs, what I do want to have a little talk with you about is actually Raise Your Governors in this game. We've been talking a lot about XL and what this game means to them, but remember, there's still a playoff spot available for Raise Your Governors. Hyperion also in the same situation, so this win is crucial to them. Both of these teams only have two games left, and they need to make sure they win as many of them as possible. Hyperion do have to play against Misfits just after this game, so potential, but we could see a tiebreaker start to come through from both of these teams.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing.
Win here for Raise Your Governors is massive.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the thing, is Governors and Hyperion both have very strong opponents they're going up against. So if they both end up losing out on all of them, they'll just go into a tiebreaker, which I think both teams would be okay with. See who comes ahead. But the thing is, Hyperion had some close matches. They had one, well, maybe not so much when they played against Misfits, but against Wind and Rain, they actually did pretty well. And so you're worrying, if Governors lose this, it's not the end of the world. XL are a strong team, but that's only if Hyperion continue to lose as well. If next game Hyperion pull out a blind and beat Misfits, it could be the end of the road for Governors.
Very, very scary situation for Raise Your Governors to be in. Down a lot of gold. I couldn't be bothered to do the maths. Speedy actually getting found out by Sendo. Remember, he still has that feast available. Pops down the silence. Feral Scream is there, and Sendo is trespassed out. Speedy is forced to run through a wall and escape out. I thought that was going to be a dead Kane, but
yeah, he bought some time with the ult, and then, I mean, maybe a bit of a misplay from Sendo. He stood next to the wall. That meant as soon as Speedy came out, he could just travel through it. Maybe he should have stood in some open space, but regardless, yes, he didn't get the kill, but it shows how strong this Cho'Gath is and how weak this Kane is. And it's difficult in this situation because, yes, you said they have a scaling objective, but I mean, when you're this far behind, 6k before 20 minutes, 2 Infernal Drakes, and every lane is just shoving in. You can see a 50 CS lead has come out in the bot lane. It's so hard to see where to make plays as well because Galio is tanky, Cho'Gath's tanky, Taxa is tanky, and he has his ult to block CC. Both of the bot laners have cleanse. Where do you make the play? And even if you do manage to land something, Galio ult can come down and make them even tankier. It's so difficult for Governors to find an opportunity. And I think they just have to wait for XL to make a massive mistake.
I think if a play needs to happen, the play will happen on Krumel. As he's only stacking health, not really any additional stats at the moment with that Rod of Ages and building towards Leandri's Torment. So take out that global pressure. It is always an option to them, but XL are just rotating around the map faster than them, able to drop themselves down a tier 2 in the bot lane, and only the mid lane turret remains, and then it's just the base turrets for Raise Your Governors to worry about. And Snuggly seems a little bit trigger happy with that black shield. Pops it a little bit late. Casedo's coming in. Can land the Feral Scream. Can land the knockup. Snuggly's going to get slowed and pops down. Stand behind me does absolutely nothing for him, and he gets dropped. Turret will fall down in the mid lane, and now it is just the base that remains for Raise Your Governors.
Oh my god, that damage from Caitlyn! And I mean, this is the problem. You're against a fed... A fed double Infernal Caitlyn, and just does devastating damage. XL are going to look for a pick here. They're not confident to go for the Baron yet, having only taken off the support. But they get control. That's what this gives them, more control. And they've now taken all the outer turrets, so they're in a great position this game.
Slow is there. It could be a flash through from Cromel. Does use it. Forces Speedy and Snuggly to flash away. Now we're seeing a bit of a fight come through. Health bars are very, very low for Raise Your Governor. So Vero is thrown down the miasma, but only onto a tank. And
I'm not even convinced he did any damage to Sendu. Like, I saw him cast an E on him. I'm not convinced that actually did any damage. I'm not sure if it registered. He is so tanky. And he started to pick up this MR now. It was a decent attempt at a flash from Cromel, but a bit out of range. Fortunately, Vero was still pressured, so he had to match with flashes. So happy with that trade, but doesn't get anything else. Issue is, though, this third Infernal Drake is up in 30 seconds. And you have to ask yourself, what are Governors going to do? Do they fight it? Because they are so far behind, 8k at the moment, and already 2 Infernals down. I mean, such a hard position to be in.
Seeing Venza get a back in as well, picked himself a Zeal up. So he is nice and ready for this next fight over Infernals. It's 5 seconds away, and we're seeing Snuggly base at this point. Jakamaka's thinking about it, but it just looks like Raise Your Governors are just going to give up the Infernal Drake for now.
I mean, I understand it. The issue is that Infernal Drake doesn't help you at all in terms of combat. What I mean by that, obviously it helps, gives you stats, but what I mean in terms of that is, if you're fighting the Baron, you're going to take a lot of damage.
This is juicy. They're aware that actually they're going for the Infernal Drake. So we're seeing Raise Your Governors just start the Nasher up. Going to be secured out now, and now a root comes down onto Camille. They're turning around, looking for the Galio. This could be the pick they need. Miasma's there. Vero manages to get it. Now Venza needs to be careful. He's forced the 90 caliber net back, but he does do a serious chunk of damage, and Baron Nasher will be thwarted for the moment. Raise Your Governors can be happy with just the one pick, but they're getting flanked and cut off. And now it's just a beeline for the mid.
I like the idea from Governors to start up the Baron when you know XL inside the map. A good opportunity. They get the pick on a Cromel, but I mean, that's it. They're in a really difficult position, and XL now have this triple Infernal. And the thing is, they have a Janna as well. So Caitlyn, who's got so much crit chance, so much AD, it's increased even more.
The taunt comes down. That looks like it's going to be the end of the Shen as Governor falls down. Venza's able to get himself a kill. Back throw comes through as a monsoon onto all 4 members. Humble Trespass is thrown onto Venza, who uses randomly, and the Unstoppable comes down. Speedy is going to go out. It's just a double kill. And now Cromel manages to land the taunt, gets the kill over onto Taxa, and Inhibitor will be under fire. 3 Infernal Drakes is just monstrous, and Raise Your Governors can do nothing into XL as the Banner Command minion is still alive. Tier 1, Nexus turret is even under fire. They're going to look to take down the second one. There's a couple of members starting to come back for Raise Your Governors, but I don't know if it's going to be enough. It's too little, and it's way too late. 3 Infernal Drakes is monstrous as the Nexus drops. And XL quite happy with their position now.
Wow, just absolutely dominant. And you know, if you're a fan of XL, that's what you want to see, because they have the game against Misfits on